Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
April 24th, 2020, the M&A is not dead edition. First up, from the New York Times, some businesses are worried about opening too soon in the wake of the coronavirus health crisis. This includes movie theaters, who the government in many states, particularly state governors, want to reopen, yet the movie theaters are afraid that if there's a second wave of coronavirus spikes, that they will fall into the groups of businesses that are seen as hotspots, and it will permanently damage them going forward. They are worried about opening too soon, and they certainly don't want to be lumped in with meatpacking plants and senior centers as hotspots. And although struggling financially, theaters fear that a too soon return could stigmatize them as dangerous places to congregate. Finally, with new movies from Hollywood not set to debut until the middle of July, that is after the Memorial Day plethora of openings, at the earliest, it could be that time before they could be real money makers. So businesses are certainly worried about opening too soon, and governments need to be sensitive to that. Next up, in what might be seen as a KYC move, Google will require proof of identity from all advertisers, as reporting in by the New York Times. In an effort to fight off fraudulent or misleading online ads, Google will now require all advertisers across its network to prove who they are and where they operate. KYC, or Know Your Customer, has been a long time part of the banking industry and many corporate programs, and it's fairly unbelievable that Google has not done this before. Obviously, this is driven by the reputational damage they've sustained, but also government inquiry into these areas. Next up, from the Houston Chronicle, it looks like workers are going to be on their own when it comes to COVID-19 protections as the economy reopens. OSHA has not issued a standard or specific standard that will require companies to take steps to reduce risk, such as social distancing, supplying masks or other protective gear. And so many companies have just basically told you workers, you're on your own. Further, many companies, particularly those in the consumer product or consumer sales, don't want workers wearing masks or gloves because they fear it will scare off customers. So it looks like the working public will be the one who bear the brunt of going back to work, and they will bear the dangers of infection from coronavirus with very little protection. And finally, our lead story comes from the Financial Times. Brookmaster's company's column about M&A. And while the blockbuster M&A deals are certainly down, she points out that because of the difficulty in doing or performing due diligence, nevertheless, there are smaller and mid-sized deals that are likely to rebound first. So M&A certainly is down right now, but she expects it to come back with a plum this fall. I hope you have checked out my new podcast on compliance and coronavirus that I started to bring sanity and clarity to the compliance practitioner. I am having as diverse a input of stories that I can, from successfully working at home to navigating compliance during the difficult times, and a wide variety of others. So check out Compliance and Coronavirus. It comes up Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9 a.m. on the Compliance Podcast Network. You're staying safe, self-distancing, and isolating during this time. Thank you for listening. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.